Today, we will look at Forex pairs to trade. We will do a full top-down analysis, starting from the 1 day to 1 minute. We will cover many concepts in this video: breakers, order blocks, imbalances, failed to return, balanced price ranges, liquidity hunts, optimal trade entries. We have so much to do. If you're ready, let's start. Welcome our free trading course, all about price action trading strategies and smart money concepts. If you love scalping and day trading or even swing trading, check out my free trading course. You can find the links on Google Drive or directly from my website, which is in the description. And please try to watch videos in order, otherwise it can be really confusing. Okay, let's check out the dollar-Japanese yen chart and discuss what we have. As you can see, the pair is in a bearish trend in the daily chart. However, if you closely look, you'll see the equal lows formed below where the price aimed for. And right below it, there is the FTR, failed to return candlestick, or you can call it IC, indecision candle. FTR and IC are also considered as order blocks. However, forget all the names. All these names are useless. In my mind, just call it a demand area. Now the price reacted here. You may ask this: how did you know it? My answer is so easy. I don't know anything. Knowing, guessing, prediction is not our job. What you should do is extremely simple. Just identify all the high time frames, supply and demands, and check for reactions and possible entries in low time frames. Such a simple idea. What I see here is this: a demand area and a hunted equal low. A possible reaction area. Equal low's hunt makes it more likely for a reaction, a higher probability. Now let's focus on this for our price action. First, let's analyze the previous price action so we can get a reference from history. There is a strong break here. Once you draw your premium and discount zone, you'll notice that price first pulls back to premium area to fall again. You can identify the swing failure pattern at the top, right before the fall, and the order block right below it. As you know, from now on, I'll consider the same colored candlesticks in a row before the fall as order blocks. And obviously the imbalance, our core for trading. This is actually our classic SR flip with a swing failure pattern trading setup. Now, why I did this? The historical price action gives me ideas for future price action. Let's check the most recent price action. You can notice the very strong break here, leaving this amazing giant imbalance. When I draw my premium and discount zone, I can wait for the similar price action that is similar to historical data. You can notice the considerable swing failure pattern at the top. Next, there is a big imbalance and the order block area. I want you to notice the liquidity above, where the price is heading and also trying to fill the imbalance, at least some of it. Let's focus on this area within a 1 hour time frame and see what we have. Until this point, this FTR has no meaning. The price can easily fall from this demand and it could be useless. We do not know that, and we do not try to predict if this demand area will work or not. It is not our job. With this market structure break, after the demand reaction, right now we have a fact, a real fact. Now we know that price reacted to this demand. Price action trading works on facts and previous data. It is not a guessing game. Let's introduce a new concept to our trading tool belt: balanced price range, BPR. It is an extremely simple concept. I'll do a separate video on that in the future, but you can Google it if you need. Do you see this previous imbalance? The price pierced through it with a new imbalance like here. It created a special support zone. The connection area between two imbalances becomes a support zone, SR flip area. This is a BPR. Now let's focus on the 5-minute chart and see what we can do. Let's see some targets where the price can move to. As you already know, we only trade with clear targets, which are mostly imbalances and liquidity points. You may see that price leaves many nice untaken liquidity areas above, and many small imbalances to fill. Let's do more deep diving into this special area and understand our scalping options and possibilities. Now, the price reacts to 1-hour BPR, as you can see, but it is not confirmed yet. We only confirm it with market structure shift. But what I have here is a very obvious equal highs, the strongest target that we can ever have. You can see that market structure break happens right at this point. Again, now we have facts. We work with facts, as you remember. Next, we have our obvious imbalance right at this point. If you draw your premium and discount zone, it is in the discount areas. Do not focus on the colors. I always forget to switch the colors of the Ganbox tool. You can also get help from your Fibonacci tool to identify the most optimal entry point. The OTE zone also collides with the imbalance, which makes it a much stronger area to trade. However, if you look closer, you'll also notice that there is another mini BPR here, a balanced price range. Now, this would be the best sniper trading entry you can make in your entire life. However, can you make it? Can you be this precise? I'll be honest, I mostly cannot. We are talking about reality here. This is advanced level sniper trading. It is possible, but you need extreme dedication and discipline in your life. Some of you may achieve that, but majority of traders are far away in my opinion. Let's talk about how would I enter and make a profit. The first thing I would do is determine imbalance points on the chart for possible profit points. You can also see this little equal high target before our main equal highs above. Another great level to take a profit. My entry would be like this. If you watched my real trading recaps on the channel, I have taken similar entries a lot. Large cushion at the bottom, protecting me from the possible pullbacks. And the partial take profit points above and moving my stop loss to my entry after a while. If you are a casual trader, this is what you can achieve. What I do here can be done by most traders. However, if you aim to make a full living by trading, after a while, what I do may not be enough for you. You must master sniper trading in time. Let's imagine that you missed the first two entries. What can you do? Just wait for the next chance. We have a clear target above. You can continue to day trade the charts until they reach their main targets. As you can see, there is a new break of structure right here. Creates a new premium and discount zone for us to trade. If you look closely, another imbalance area for a reaction. It turns into a nice SR flip zone to trade. This could have been another nice trade. So, you had 3 chances of trading an entry point on the same day. There's nothing better than this. All you do is simply identify your high time frame supply and demands or major liquidity hunts, and then open your low time frames and confirm the reaction with market structure break. Then wait for multiple entry chances until the price reaches a clear target. Okay folks, this is it for the day. The next video will be about more trading examples of these trading strategies. As always, all these trading methods are suitable for scalping, day trading, or even swing trading. I believe that it will be really helpful in your trading life. I hope you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you, please take care, and see you soon.